Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. There are big doings in Little Genoa City this week as family members take aim at Victor. Damian's big family reunion doesn't go so hot, and Harrison seems intent on reuniting Kyle and Summer. Read on for all the details. This week, young Harrison, with Summer and Kyle, is enthused about having a family night. The boy declares tonight will be just like Halloween and adds, "Maybe you'll even hug again." It's downright adorable how hopeful he is, but something tells us that things might not go quite as he's hoping. Then again, not everyone on the canvas is thrilled to have Kyle and Claire dating, so maybe the kid is onto something. Meanwhile, Nate finally told Damian that he'd tracked him down because Amy asked him to, and she had something to tell him. Meanwhile, Amy was concerned about why her son hadn't come to see her, and she feared she was running out of time. When Nate finally brought Damian to see Amy, she immediately knew the man was not her son. The man explained his name was Holden, and he worked for Damian. With Holden's help, Nate was able to reach out to the real Damian and tell him that he needed to see his mother, who isn't looking well these days. Next week, Damian faces off with Amy and Nate. To say that he's skeptical would be an understatement, and he definitely does not like being called bro by, well, his brother. What will it take to bring this fractured family together again? Finally, Victor remained opposed to his granddaughter dating his nemesis Jack's son. Claire thought Nikki could smooth things over with him, but even she failed to convince Victor to accept the relationship. Coming up, Victoria asks Claire, "Is there anything I can do to help?" Claire replies, "There is, yeah. You can tell me how to win a fight with Victor Newman. Is that even possible?" The halls of the Wayne Manor were quiet, too quiet. The kind of silence that wasn't peaceful, but rather the calm before an inevitable storm. Damian Wayne sat cross-legged on the polished wooden floor of the training room, his katana resting against his shoulder. His mind was a battlefield, a place of war between instinct and logic. Yet Nate stood there, hands in his pockets, watching him with an infuriating sense of patience. A patience Damian didn't understand, nor did he care to. "You know, glaring at me like that isn't going to change anything," Nate said, his voice lighthearted. He was older, taller, and had that annoying smirk that made Damian's fingers itch to throw a punch. He wasn't trying to be intimidating, but that only made it worse. "I don't need another sibling." Damian spat. "Drake, Todd, and Grayson are already burdens enough." Damian stood, his muscles tensed like a coiled spring. "You're not my brother. You're just some stranger who shares DNA with my father. That doesn't make you family." Nate sighed and leaned against the doorway, rubbing the back of his neck. "Look, I get it. You're not exactly the warm and fuzzy type. And honestly, I didn't ask for this either. But we're stuck with each other, so we might as well figure this out." "There is nothing to figure out," Damian retorted. "You do whatever it is you do, and I'll continue my training. You are irrelevant to my mission." Nate raised an eyebrow. "Mission? You mean the one where you run around rooftops in the middle of the night punching criminals in the face?" Damian's grip on his katana tightened. "You wouldn't understand." Nate pushed off the wall and stepped closer. "Maybe, but have you ever considered that you don't understand either?" The words hung in the air between them, like a blade just waiting to drop. Damian scoffed and turned away, unwilling to waste another second on this pointless conversation. But Nate wasn't finished. "I know what it's like to feel like you have to prove yourself," Nate continued. "To feel like if you let your guard down, even for a second, everything will come crashing down." Damian froze. His back was turned, but Nate could tell he was listening. "I spent years not knowing who I really was," Nate admitted. "Then one day, I find out I have a father I've never met. And oh yeah, surprise, you also have siblings who probably want nothing to do with you. And the youngest one, especially, looks like he'd rather fight a pack of wolves than have a conversation with me." Damian rolled his eyes. "That's because a pack of wolves would be a more engaging interaction." Nate laughed. "See, this is why I think we'll get along just fine." "That is the single most incorrect statement I have ever heard," Damian replied dryly. Nate shrugged. "You don't have to like me. I just need you to understand that I'm not going anywhere." Damian exhaled sharply, feeling the weight of those words settle uncomfortably on his chest. He didn't like the idea of permanence when it came to people. People were unpredictable, unreliable. Even within the Bat family, relationships were fragile, strained under the weight of secrets, past betrayals, and unspoken words. The idea of someone new stepping into his life, claiming to be family, made his stomach churn. But no matter how much he resisted, Nate was still here. And somehow, that frustrated him even more. Days passed, and though Damian did his best to ignore Nate's existence, the older man didn't make it easy. He was always around, whether in the kitchen making coffee or casually reading in the library. He trained in the Batcave with the others, even sparring with Dick and Jason like he'd been a part of this life for years. It irked Damian to no end. One evening, as Damian was practicing his sword techniques, he noticed Nate watching from the training room entrance. Again. "Do you have a death wish?" Damian asked, slicing through the air with precise, calculated movements. Nate smirked. "Nah, just enjoying the show." "You're good." "I know," Damian said flatly. Nate chuckled. "You know, I used to train in martial arts too. Not at your level, obviously, but I can hold my own." Damian eyed him skeptically. "Doubtful." Nate grinned. "Wanna test that theory?" Damian hesitated, then smirked. "Fine, but don't cry when I break you." They squared up. Damian took the first strike, fast and sharp, but Nate dodged, fluidly stepping aside. He wasn't as fast as Damian, but he was skilled, moving with experience and a natural ease. Damian increased his speed, but Nate adapted, blocking and countering with just enough force to keep Damian on edge. For once, Damian felt something he hadn't expected. Challenge. When the sparring match ended, neither was victorious. Both breathing hard, sweat glistening under the dim lights of the training room. Nate grinned. That was fun. Damian, begrudgingly, nodded. "You were adequate." Nate laughed. "High praise coming from you." Damian studied him for a moment before finally asking, "Why do you keep trying?" Nate's smile softened. "Because I don't give up on family." Something in Damian's chest tightened at that. He didn't respond, simply picking up his katana and turning away. But as he walked out of the training room, he realized something unsettling. For the first time, he wasn't entirely sure if he wanted Nate to leave, and that scared him more than anything else.